I want to thank everyone today for tuning in to Coffee with the Candidates. We have incumbent Mason Schramm with us here today. This series will involve 8 questions being asked of every candidate, and it's our opportunity to learn more about each of our candidates running for the Yankton City Commission. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here. So Mason, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, Mason Schramm, I'm born and raised here in Yankton. I am the broker owner of the Move Group, which is a new real estate brokerage here in Yankton. I'm married to my wife, Kate, and we have a 3-year-old son, Paxton. We are pretty big Mount Marty and Yankton High School supporters. You'll see us at as many activities as we can. It's a good, fun family outing for us to go. And in addition to trying to attend as many Mount Marty and Yankton things, I am on the Avera Philanthropy Council and the Mount Marty Annual Giving Committee, and I am running for re-election, as Nancy mentioned. So I'm just looking forward to this opportunity to express my thoughts on some of the questions, and hopefully you get to know me a little better if you don't already know me. And I want to encourage you to go out and vote for sure on April 12th.
So you did mention you are an incumbent. Why are you running for this session of Yankton City Commission?
Sure. So I feel like Yankton is a community on the move. Over the last 3 years, my work with the City Commission has helped continue a pattern of positive momentum that has been going through our community. You can see that in many ways. You can look at our infrastructure projects, such as the water treatment facility, which is beautiful right down on Levy Street, and it's a great addition to our infrastructure, or our quality of life projects, such as the Youth and Family Aquatic Center. You can see this momentum in our continued great partnerships with Great Life, for example, running the Foxtrot Golf Course, or Mount Marty University and building the field house. You can see the momentum in our small businesses and the sales tax revenues that have been breaking records month over month. People are spending money here locally, and it's great for our businesses. So I want to run for re-election to continue that trend of positive momentum and make sure that Yankton continues to be moving forward.
So I do have a follow-up question. What role do you think the City Commission plays in establishing that momentum?
I think it's setting clear expectations and clear communications with our strategic planning to our partners, to encourage them to make those tough decisions as a business person or a organization. Without guidance from the city, it's hard to feel comfortable making those decisions. I'm a small business owner. I understand that we take risk day in and day out, and if our city appears to be on the same page with a well thought out plan, it makes our job easier to make those investments. And encourages those partnerships to then come back to the city and say, we have an idea, how can we make this happen? So I think that's a role the city plays in encouraging that type of growth and development in our community.
Thank you. As an elected official, it's hard to put aside your personal beliefs and represent the majority of the constituents that you represent. Can you give me an example of how you will do that as a city
Sure.
commissioner?
So I don't feel that this actually is very hard for me as an elected official to separate my personal beliefs from the decisions that are at hand. I feel like I'm a very objective person, and when I come into a decision-making process, I want to gather as much information as I can from the key stakeholders, from the community, from the constituents, from the partners, whoever it may be. There's countless examples of how I've done this the last few years, and we've had some pretty serious discussions over the last few years. Social media is a great tool. For example, I use a Facebook page for my campaign. I reach out to my constituents there and just ask, what are your thoughts on this? We have to make a decision. I want to hear what you have to say. And not just say that as lip service, but actually want to hear what they have to say. And that's what I feel I do in a good job, is hearing all sides of an argument, or trying to hear as many sides as possible so I can make an informed decision to represent the majority of my constituents on that matter.
What are your priority projects for the community of Yankton?
Sure. I think we're in a great situation, Yankton. There's a lot of many projects that you could pick, and I think a key one, I'll pick three key ones that I'd like to see moving forward, and one is our Meridian Bridge, beautiful historic landmark, iconic. You think of Yankton, you think of our bridge, and frankly, that bridge is going to start costing us a lot of money as a city to maintain, and I would hate to see that bridge disappear. And so there it needs to be on our radar in the next few years, next 3 years, of how we can start finding funding sources for that type of project, because it's not going to be cheap, and I would hate to see it go away. It's just a beautiful part of our downtown. Tying into that, another project would be the continued development of our downtown. I think you can walk down 3rd Street, Walnut Street, anywhere in the Meridian District and see the revitalization that's happened over the last several years, and the investment that private small business owners and big business owners have taken to improve the landscape of that downtown. And the fruit of their labors is coming true with the small business sales tax revenues that we're collecting. It's just impressive. And so I think continued support of the Facade Grant program, the encouraging businesses to have take bigger risks and more risks downtown, encouraging small business owners to take that step to try something new. And then, as a city, we can do things like we did with Walnut Street and make it a beautiful place that people want to gather and be part of our community. Think of all the events that go on in that Meridian District. It's just a place that draws people, and it's a great community center for us as a community. So that would be another project I want to see, is keep that revitalization happening. And a third one is, this is a national problem, but would be working with our local regional, state partners to develop another Westbrook housing type of project, because we are in desperate need, and everyone's in desperate need. So this is not a Yankton problem, but this is a solution that we have to come up with for our future growth. And it's a better problem than the alternative of everyone leaving Yankton. I want to make that very clear, that we are in a positive situation, but we have a housing shortage. And I think the city can be a strong advocate to help develop a partnership with a private entity to come in and make another development happen, much to the success and rousing success that Westbrook has been, and help alleviate some of that housing crisis that we're in right now.
So I want to follow up and ask about, how do you prioritize which projects you want to move forward, because there are so many great options, but a limited amount of money to support those.
Right, and that's absolutely a challenge, right? How do you pick? And I look at it as kind of some criteria. Infrastructure projects, I feel, are a must, especially when we have infrastructure that is aging, and things that you can't have a good city without good infrastructure. That's priority number one. Fortunately, we have a lot of good infrastructure, and we also have plans to improve our infrastructure, and we're very proactive about that as a community. So you got to commend all of our city staff for their dedication to that cause. But then I think you look at what type of projects can improve the quality of life, generate revenue, draw people in to help support our small businesses, and increase the growth and development of Yankton. I think, so when I talked about the projects I picked, the Meridian Bridge is an infrastructure and quality of life project in my mind. The downtown development is a financial for small businesses, it's a quality of life for our community, and then the housing is critical. I mean, that's the future growth of our community. So I think you have to play several criteria in your mind and weigh the pros and cons, because you can't do everything. But I think we have to be strategic about which projects will move the needle forward versus move the needle backwards. And I think we're doing a good job of moving the needle forward.
Yeah, you've already mentioned that partnerships and collaborations are important, whether they're regional, statewide, national. Can you tell us what you would do to strengthen existing or create new relationships with those entities?
So when I think of partnerships, I think of this phrase, and it just has always stuck with me. Partnerships they move at the speed of trust. So when you think of a partnership, it moves at the speed of trust. And fortunately for us in Yankton, we have had a great history of strong, trusting relationships that have been mutually beneficial for our community. I mean, you think of the great relationships we have with the Yankton School District or Mount Marty, or you name it. I mean, they just pick one, and it seems like it's a positive relationship for the community. And so my goal is to continue that growth of those trusting relationships with our current partners, for the mutually beneficial things that we can accomplish together in our community. But you also can't forget that new partners come up, and I think you can point to the existing partnerships and say, these are the things we've done. This is how we built trust with those partners. This is how we can build trust with the new partners. I think you have to be actively listening to what the partners are asking for and clearly communicating the expectations from a city perspective of what we can do to help facilitate those partnerships to grow and build that trust. It all comes down to that trust that exists between the city and the partners, and I feel like we are in a situation where there is a very strong bond of trust between our partners and then hopefully in the future partners that come up.
Can you name one project that you are proud of that the city has accomplished recently and one that you think could have maybe gone better?
So, I think one project that I'm really proud of actually is our Facade Grant program. It's been around for a little while, and you can just drive around and see the fruits of that project, project and the money that has gone to improving those facades. It's pretty incredible the revitalization that's happened. And a key part of that in the last year and a half was getting the Facade Grant monies from $30,000 to $60,000. I sit on the Facade Grant committee, and we get 10, 12 solid applications every year, it seems like, and $30,000 just wasn't enough to fund only a few. And so by increasing that amount, I feel like that's a strong accomplishment that we are encouraging our small business owners, our Meridian district, to continue that trend of positive growth in that district. One project that I wish would have gone better. So I think everyone, I'm going to speak for everyone here. Everyone is probably sick of talking about COVID, and I'm no different. And I feel like the city's response to COVID, as difficult decisions they were, could have gone better. We were tasked with coming up with the city's response to a global pandemic. It's something that no one's had to deal with in a century, essentially. And typically I'm a person who I set my pride aside when I don't know, I'm not an expert on something, and I want to listen to the experts. I want to hear my constituents. I want to hear the opinions out there, because that's how good decision making happens. And I feel that's what makes a good city commissioner, someone who's willing to set their pride aside and listen. In this case, the experts didn't necessarily have a consensus on the best approach. And those decisions weighed heavily on both the livelihoods and the lives of the citizens in Yankton. And so while I wouldn't change our decision based on the information we had at the time, I do wish, and I feel like it's a grave understatement to say, I wish that would have gone better, because there was a lot of division. There was, it would have been nice to have clear information and fewer people whose lives and livelihoods would have been affected. So I wish that whole process could have gone better throughout the pandemic.
So I do want to just go back to the Facade Grant.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to let you know, I personally have had 2 communities call me and say, how did the city of Yankton create such a successful program?
That's great to hear.
And the city of Madison actually replicated our program. And because of some grants or money donated from the business community, their grant system is much larger than what Yankton. So it was a good public-private partnership that they put together in their community. So I do want to thank the city of Yankton for continuing to support that program. So can you please share your thoughts on the proposed wastewater treatment facility, funding, location, or some other topics you've talked about?
Yeah, this was a discussion that it seemed to come out of left field for the city commissioners, to use a baseball reference. It was on our radar. It's been on the city's radar for a while, but this project was expedited due to COVID and funding that the federal government was passing down to the states and then to the communities to use on infrastructure, especially wastewater infrastructure projects. And so our timeline got a little expedited. This project, in my mind, I think the answers we came up with at the City Commission were the right answers. This is a project that is an infrastructure project that is absolutely critical to a successful city. You can't have a malfunctioning wastewater facility in a city. Nobody really wants to talk about wastewater until there's a problem, and we hope there's never a problem, because that's a big problem. And so, the discussions were lengthy, and rightfully so, because this decision that we made was going to affect financially every single person who pays a sewer bill. And not just a little bit. I mean, it's going to impact our sewer bill numbers substantially over the next few years, and we didn't take that lightly. The options that were presented to us to take advantage of this federal funding was remodel the existing facility at a cost of around 40 plus million, or find a new location and relocate at the cost of 80 plus million. And when you really got down to the numbers, relocation just didn't make sense. That $88 million or so project just would have financially crippled some of our businesses, especially some of the big water users, and also individual users at the residential level. It would have hurt everyone. And not saying that $44 million project isn't going to hurt your wallet, it will. We appreciate that, and we understand that, but it came down to choose the best option, and we feel like we did. And as far as location, the existing facility is right on the riverfront. I mean, that in some people's minds, that location could have been a perfect use for expanded parks or development of some kind. And in speaking with all of the people involved, there's some limitations with that location. Some of the infrastructure that was there would not be relocated. There's a pipeline running right through that piece of ground that would hamper any development. So again, it just didn't make sense to charge the Yankton community another $40+ million for maybe 7 acres of ground. It just wasn't fiscally responsible. And I also want to address that we're not just kicking the bucket down the road to another generation. These improvements are going to be lengthy and long-term at the existing site. So again, these are the type of discussions that you have to have that are difficult but also critical, absolutely critical. And I feel the City Commission made good choices on this project.
So in closing, is there something you want to mention today that was not a part of the previously asked questions that will help the voters decide if you have earned their vote?
So, in my opinion, good leadership requires a strong sense of empathy, and I strive to provide that to my constituents, in my work and as a public official, because everyone's opinion matters. Every voice matters, no matter how big or how small a project may seem or an issue may seem. To that person, that issue is important. And so I want people to understand that I want to hear what you have to say. I'm always available. My cell phone's out there, my email's out there. If I run into you somewhere, please talk to me about what you're concerned about, because that's the job of a city commissioner, is to listen and actively listen and take back the information, digest it, and try to hear from alternate viewpoints to make the best decision that's possible. And I feel like I've done that the last 3 years, and I want to encourage anyone that has any questions to always reach out. And in closing, the election's coming up on April 12th. You can absentee vote, but I would encourage everyone that's eligible to vote, that's registered to vote, to please go out and vote. It's a responsibility we have as citizens, and we should do that. And I would also encourage you, to vote for me if you want to do that. So anyway, thank you for having me here today. I appreciate the conversation, and I look forward to this election cycle and hopefully getting to represent the community going forward in another 3 years.
Well, on behalf of Yankton Thrive, we want to say thank you for coming in and participating in Coffee with the Candidates today. And I echo your sentiments of please vote on April 12th, or if you're so inclined to absentee vote, you can do that as well. Thank you so much, Mason.
Thank you.